Thanks for tuning into the Realtor Moms Podcast. We are Tasha and Jamie, full-time realtors and admittedly average moms. This is how we sell homes and try to keep our kids alive.
Today we're talking about real estate birth control. You think it's funny, like it sounds funny, but this is a real thing. I think it's a real thing. Tasha, so you know you've got the car, right? And everybody fits in their spots in the car. And I don't know if you ever thought about having more children or not, but did it enter into your mind how living in your house or riding around in your automobiles would be different if you added to your family?
Yes, very, very, very much so.
See, this is the stuff I'm talking about. Like, real estate can be a form of birth control. And I don't mean to be insensitive about it. We're just trying to, add a little humor to this industry that we're in. But thinking about future family plans can most definitely have an impact on how you buy your house or whether or not you stay in the house that you're in.
It very much can happen. I always think about move-up buyers.
Yes.
And one thing, I look at myself when I was the move-up buyer. We were a family of 5 with 3 girls with a 6-month-old at home, and we were to the point where we'd open up a closet door and stuff would come tumbling out on top of my head.
Yes.
We had 2 dogs. We had no room in 1,700 square feet. We were it was not
bursting
good.
At the seams.
Bursting at the seams. Exactly. And I think about that, and it's like, I wasn't a realtor at the time, but any realtor that had known me, had they just knew anything about me, I should have been the one that they were calling and reaching out to right away and keeping in contact with, because we ended up within that, our baby was 6 months moving because we had no more room. So I think about that all the time, and we see it all the time.
I see a lot of that too. I do, both of us get contacted by that family who's expecting their next child or thinking about planning for another child. And I also was not selling real estate when Eric and I bought our home in Kindred, and it just so happens that we have 3 bedrooms on one level, and there's the 2 of us in our room, and we have 1 kid in each of the other 2 bedrooms, and that works out perfectly. And we are not planning on having any more children, but if we were, I would have to take a pretty hard thought or spend some time thinking about, where's that next kid gonna go?
Gonna live? Where are they gonna live?
Right.
You're gonna put them out in the shed and back.
It is no longer appropriate when they're 16 to be sleeping in a crib in the master bedroom. So at some point in time, real estate, maybe it sort of becomes a form of birth control.
Well, when me and my husband were building our home, I fell in love with the plan that we built, and it really had to do with the fact that we had 4 bedrooms upstairs. Right. We had an age range of kids from 10 to 4 to a baby, and really when I looked at that, I wanted all of my children at that point to be upstairs with me on the same level, because I had at that point had my middle daughter before I had my youngest in the upstairs bedroom, but I had my oldest daughter down, and because we were in a bi-level in the downstairs level, and I didn't like having that space between us. And one thing I laugh about all the time when you talk about birth control, real estate birth control, is the moms that I knew that had older kids, they looked at me, they laughed. Right. They laughed more like, you poor woman, you don't know where you're going. You don't know what you don't know. Like, are you thinking, do you really want all those bedrooms upstairs? Right. Because they have older children and they wanted to send them down. Yes. They wanted them downstairs. And now that my children are starting to be older, I'm like, it might be nice to have the kids in the basement.
Right. Who can we send downstairs?
and I can't send them downstairs because my husband has turned my basement into the man cave with a wood working shed. And
it's the only place he can go in a family with 6 females.
I mean, he's in the basement doing who knows what in an unfinished basement that I'm not sure I'll ever have fixed.
Right.
Or finished. I want it finished, but I don't know if I can. It's just not happening.
Totally. So yes, it's more than just getting everybody on the same level. Sometimes it's separating us all by a level or 2 in the in-between that we're all looking for. So real estate can, or the house you live in can definitely play a role in how how you arrange your family and how getting your own spaces helps you all get along a little better.
One other thing I like to bring up with a 16-year-old in my house that is eventually going to end up with her permit and driver's license is how many garage stalls do you have?
Yes.
Oh, I think about that all the time, because if you have that single stall or double stall, maybe
suddenly,
yes, you have a teenage driver.
Little Joey is getting a car.
Yes. Do you want that third stall so you don't have to basically get after your kid to move their car every time you want to drive into your garage or out?
Or maybe you invest in the mega ultra minibus to haul the whole family. Now you've got the bigger vehicle. Does it still fit into the garage that you have? Or do you want to be parking it on the side of the road and brushing the snow off of it every day?
Yes, does. When we built our home, my husband decided, I laugh about this all the time, but we became known as the family with the garage is 2 inches wider than the width of our house.
Then the entire house.
Then the entire width of the house, the garage is wider because my husband could not make the garage big enough. And it all came down to the fact that he had a full-size pickup with the master cab and needed to be able to park it in the garage and didn't want to have to fight for space.
Totally.
So I think about that as well. And I really have been, even before I was a realtor, measuring the length of a vehicle with a tape measure.
And how about yard space too? And let's not just talk about human children, but there's also furry little children, pets. There's dogs, probably not cats, but dogs that everybody likes to let outside. Or maybe they don't have a dog, but they're thinking about getting a dog. And wouldn't it be nice to let Fido out of the patio door and potentially into a fenced yard, or a place where you could install an underground fence? Or maybe you don't want a yard at all. Maybe you want to be close to a park or a path or something to that effect, so you can explore those kinds of options and those kinds of neighborhoods for your real estate needs.
If you don't want a busy street in your backyard, those are items that matter to people. Maybe you want to find close proximity to like where I live, by a splash pad. I mean, those types of items are important to people. So, and to go back to it, there are people that do let their cats outside to roam. And I just want to point that out, because I did have neighbors that had a cat.
How tall does your fence have to be to have a cat that roams in the backyard? They jump.
They did not have a fence. But I do know that there was an orange cat that was kind of wandering around the neighborhood, kind of at her leisure.
Nice.
And so there are people that do let their cats roam. I just want to point that out.
She's a town mouser. So there's our take on real estate as birth control, on how your home, your yard, everything having to do with where you live can certainly have an impact on your decision for future planning, family changes, or
the future
in general. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening. Replay or hear more episodes at RealtorMomsPodcast.com, and follow us on Instagram with #RealtorMomsPodcast.
We really appreciate you listening to our podcast, and we'd love even more if you'd send us some content ideas. If you have a question or a topic you'd like covered, please visit our website at RealtorMomsPodcast.com.
This podcast is produced by Jamie R. Swenson and Tasha Barrett of Park Company Realtors, 28 North 10th Street, Fargo, North Dakota, 58102.